On this episode of Hudson Valley Hustle, I'm joined by Dan Feliciano, CEO and founder of Clotheslyne. Clotheslyne is an Uber-style marketplace where anybody can just have their laundry done by somebody locally. Dan talks about his entrepreneurial journey, which started when he was 12 years old as a paperboy, all the way through now. This is a great episode if you're looking to begin your startup journey. Enjoy. Appreciate you coming out. This is good. This was it was great meeting you and working on the project with you and everything. Yeah. So I want to talk about Clotheslyne and kind of how that began. Yeah. Because I feel like a lot of people have this dream of designing an app, being on the app store, being successful, being the Uber of this or the DoorDash of that, right? You're doing it with laundry. So tell me how that started.
Yeah, I mean, it came about because, I have like this long history of doing a lot of different things. So, I started working, my entrepreneurial life started when I was like 12. I was a paperboy, right? And that's like the ultimate entrepreneurial thing, right? You're like 12 years old, you literally have your own business and like you don't answer to anybody, right? And you can grow that business as much as you want, or you can have as little as you want. And it really all kind of falls on your shoulders. And so, we started working. My family was poorer when I was growing up. And so you had to start working when you were young because you had to pay for your own school clothes. Like there was no budget for school clothes. So if you wanted new school clothes for the new school year, you needed to have a job. So I started working when I was young. And then, as you're doing this paper route, you're like constantly solving problems, right? And figuring things out, and you're like, it's freezing cold. We were just talking about the winter, and so like you're delivering newspapers and like snow. Like back in the day, we used to get like lots of snow, right? And so there'd be like snow up to my little 11-year-old legs, and I'd be like tromping, and it wasn't one of those paper routes where your mom drives you around. It was like you get up, you're gonna deliver your own papers, and then get home. And so I just had like this entrepreneurial spirit just kind of like in me my whole life. I joined the Marine Corps. I was a helicopter pilot. That again, like a lot of people don't kind of associate the military with like freedom thinkers. But when you're a helicopter pilot, you fly in sections, minimum, like there's 2 helicopters. But they're like, hey, listen, this is the mission. You have to go from here to there, and you have to get bombs, trons, gas or trash on target, on time. That's what we used to always say, right? And so the mission was you're going from here and you're going to arrive there on time with whatever those Marines need at the time, figure it out. And so you're just constantly figuring out these little problems, right? And some of them are big problems. And a lot of times you're bringing a lot of people with you, and there are people on the other side of it that really rely on you to do your job. And so, I go from like leading myself and building like a little paper route thing, which I did for 8 years, right? So I did it from when I was 12 until I went to university. So not 8 years, but 6 years until I was like 18 years old. I'm like a senior in high school, and I'm getting up at 5:30 in the morning.
I love it.
So I did that, and then next thing I know, I'm in the Marine Corps and I'm leading big groups of teams, right? And we're all moving in the same direction, trying to solve one problem, that will affect a whole bunch of people's lives, right? And this was in like combat missions in Iraq and Afghanistan and all these different things that kind of like get your mind really thinking outside of the box. Like there is no solution to how you're going to get from here to there. You just have to figure it out. And so then I left there, I went and I worked in the corporate world. And when you have a mentality like that, a lot of people don't fit into the corporate world because it's very rigid in the way that it works, right? But the truth is, if you can solve problems and you can solve problems independently, you can be pretty successful, as long as you deliver on what you're trying to achieve. And so I did that same thing. I worked in the corporate world at Shell for an oil company for 10 years, was super successful there. And it was just about solving problems. And now it's big money and a lot of people. And so now I just kept building like this mentality, like solving problems, understanding concepts, understanding finances, right? And just moving people in direction. So anyways, I ended up leaving Shell, moving back to the United States. It's kind of like a long way around it, but it's all kind of like how you get to the point where you think you can build the next Uber. You have to have this like string of opportunities to make decisions on your own, and to learn from all those failures, right? So I had done all that. I had all these opportunities to be successful and to make decisions and to drive people into another direction. So when I decided to leave Shell, my wife wanted to move back to the United States. We were living in Malaysia at the time. She was like, hey, we need to go back to the United States. My daughter had some speech problems. She was not developing with her speech. And so we couldn't get support in Malaysia. She moved back to the United States. I was working in Malaysia and kind of going back and forth. I was like, this is ridiculous. So I leave Shell and I moved back here, and then I didn't have anything to do. I didn't leave Shell with like another job back here. I just kind of left. And so then I just started building like companies. I built a painting company, and I built that from like zero to $1 million in annual revenue in a couple of years, just because there was something there was a problem that needed to be solved. And so I was like, all right, I'm going to do that. I started, and while I was doing that, and this was like, and this is another thing that you have to like be able to achieve when you're going to be an entrepreneur in this space, is you have to be able to do something and then like fail at it. So while I was building this painting company, I noticed that like my kids were constantly on, their device, and they were little, right? So my daughter was like 3 or 1 or whatever. And I was like, I don't really care if they're on their device, because that is the future. And this was like 7 years ago, right? Yeah. This is before. So I was like, that's the future. The kids are going to be on their device. Like anybody who's like fighting. And at that point, people were like, oh, device time, screen time, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, this is ridiculous. Like the kids, first of all, need to be on the device, because that is the future. And if you don't let them be on the device, then they're just not going to be
You're holding them
at
back
the same
at that
level,
point,
right?
To an extent, yeah.
And so I came up with this app, and the very first app I ever came up with and decided to build was an app that it was called, now I can't remember. But anyways, it was an app that where parents had an app on their phone, and you could assign tasks and chores for your kids to do. Or it's called Saturday Morning, that's why. You could assign tasks like chores or reading or whatever for your kids to do. And there was an app on the kid's phone. And when the kid opened up their phone, the only thing that would open up was that app, and it'd be a list of things that they had to do. And if they finished them, then they could be on their device. It was like,
it would like unlock the device.
It would unlock the device once they were finished, right? So I would go in there and be like, vacuum the living room floor and read a book for 15 minutes. They would open up their device. It would say, vacuum the living room floor, read a book. And so they would have to vacuum, take a picture. The picture would get sent back to my phone. And I would be able to accept it. And if I did, once I did, then the device was locked. Because the reason it was called Saturday Morning is because when I was a kid, when I woke up on Saturday morning, you could watch Saturday morning cartoons as soon as your chores were done. Like as soon as your chores were done, then you could watch all the Saturday morning cartoons that you wanted to. And so I thought, that's genius. We're going to do that now. And it worked. We built it. This has got me into the tech space.
Yeah.
Had to learn about tech, how to learn about app building. We built this app. It was super complicated, right? And an app on the parent side, an app on the kid's side, parental control issues, et cetera, et cetera. And we launched it, and it actually did really well. And then, like both Apple and Android made it impossible for you to control another person's device, right? Obviously, there's issues with that. And so the app wasn't able to move forward.
Gotcha.
Because they wouldn't allow that technology to exist anymore. And then they started building like their own ones. And so there are still screen time apps out there, but none that you could do like what I was trying to do. But because of that, I had now all this experience in like how to build an app and how to do that. And while I was running that and I was running the painting company, my former co-founder came to me and was like, hey, I got an idea about an app that we can build. The girls up at my university at the time he was at school, do my laundry for me for, like $10 a bag. And I think there's an idea there. And I was like, yeah, I think there's an idea there too. So we started researching. We took about 6 months researching whether this existed, if it did exist, where did it exist? How far along is it developed? What are the pitfalls? But what we never did was say that you can't do it, right? It was always like, okay, this is an opportunity that can be done. Is it a bridge too far? Maybe, but that's not the mentality that we're going to have going in. And that's never been the mentality I had going in, right? I'm 12 years old. I need a job. I'm going to get a job. I'm going to join the Marine Corps. I'm going to fly aircraft, and I'm just going to make that happen. And then, so every single thing that I've ever kind of done, it was never like, oh, this isn't possible. It's like, okay, this is possible. How do we achieve it? And so that's how Clotheslyne came along. So it was this like nugget of an idea that my co-founder had, and our willingness to both say, okay, we're going to make this happen. Just what do we need? And then I had all these little journeys along the way, learning how to build an app already. So some of this stuff was just like serendipitous, right? So, I learned how to build an app. I have a tech company in India that I already love working with. I had gone to, my tech guy's wedding in India, so like I had faith in building the product. And so then it was like just a series of saying like, yes, I'm going to do it. And so then we did it. And, if you do things and you do them by process and you have an outcome that you're trying to achieve, things are a lot less scary.
Yeah, but you're a problem solver at heart, right? And the best products, the best services solve problems, right? Mm-hmm. The bigger the problem, the bigger the solution. Yeah. Generally, the bigger the revenue.
Yeah. Well, only things that are successful solve a problem. If you're not solving a problem, then that company is not going to exist very long.
Correct. Yeah. So are you more of like the thought leader behind it? Because I know you have a tech company overseas. Mm-hmm. So you're more of just like the problem solver, the thinker, the big picture type of stuff. And do you offload the tech stuff to them, or did you have to really gain an understanding of how the stuff kind of works?
You have to know how apps work. You have to know how the software processes work, because if you don't know, then you can't properly structure the project, right? So a lot of building a company is just project management, right? And if you don't understand what is involved in the project, then you can't manage it. So do I know how to write code? No, I don't know how to write code. And I don't want to know how to write code, right? I have a lot of other stuff I have to remember. Like this evening, I have to go to baseball practice with my son. I need to remember how to play baseball. I don't need to know how to write in native language code. But I do need to know whether or not I want to do a hybrid app or I want to do a native app. I need to know what the back end looks like, and how do you manage a back end? How do you manage a database? How does the database interact with apps on 2 different platforms? You need to know that there are multiple platforms, right? You need to know that there's like the Apple Store and that there's the Google Play Store, and you need to know how to get on there, and you have to have developer accounts on both of them. And so there's a lot of stuff that you need to know, but I don't know like the dirt level section of it, right? Sure. So there are guys who are great at that, who know that, and I give them the responsibility and the opportunity to be great at that, right? There's a design guy who works in Figma, and you need to know that Figma exists, and if you don't know that Figma exists, then you're not going to be able to build an app, right? So there's all these little things that exist that you need to know about. So, but I don't know how to code, and I'm not going to ever kind of know how to code.
Yeah, that's okay. But that's all right though. Yeah, that's great. So for somebody that's never heard of Clotheslyne, just what is it? Give me the elevator pitch on what Clotheslyne actually is.
Yeah, so Clotheslyne is a peer-to-peer sharing marketplace that is very similar to like DoorDash or Uber, but we do laundry. And so what we're doing is we empower. I use this catchphrase is that we're rolling up the 50 million residential washing machines in the United States that are unmonetized. And we're giving people who have those washing machines the ability to monetize them. So, a housewife or a husband or a grandmother or a grandfather who has a laundry machine that's just sitting in their house, most of the time it's unutilized, can go on our platform and accept laundry orders from families in their neighborhood that are just looking to like claw back some time, right? So generally speaking, we don't eliminate laundry for every family that we do laundry for, but we give thousands of families their weekends back every week. And so they can outsource their laundry demands so that they can go to baseball practice or whatever. And a family that's in their neighborhood, or a mom or a dad or a grandmother that's in their neighborhood who has some extra time, can take that laundry off of their fellow neighbor's hands and do it. So the laundry gets picked up at the customer's house. It gets washed at a person's house. So that's always a lot of confusing. It's like, oh, are you a laundromat? No, we're not a laundromat. It's like somebody just using their laundry machine that otherwise wouldn't be used. It gets washed, it gets folded, and then it gets returned back to the customer's house.
That's great. Yeah. So when I first learned about what Clotheslyne was, I was like, this is really interesting. And I was a little confused too. So they bring it to a laundromat? Do they bring it to their house? So do you ever get, this has to be asked. It has to be asked.
Yeah.
So people are comfortable leaving undies out on their front door, having a stranger come and pick them up, wash them at their house, and bring them back.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah. It's
Did you think that? I mean,
I thought it because I've had laundry. Like I have a washing machine at my house, but throughout my life, I've outsourced laundry, right? So when I was in the Marine Corps, we would drop our laundry outside of our room on the boat. So we were on like a Navy boat because the Navy takes us around, and you put them in this mesh bag and you leave it outside your room, and somebody on the boat comes and picks it up and washes it and brings it back. And then when I was working at Shell, I would travel a lot. So I would be all over the world, and somewhere at some point during my business trip, I had to get laundry done. So I would leave my laundry out and somebody would come and do it. So for me, it wasn't that big a deal.
Yeah.
I mean, when we went to my developer's wedding in India, we were there for 2 weeks, and at some point we needed to do laundry. And so we asked our driver, like, hey, we need somebody to do laundry. And he was like, okay, I have a guy. So the next day we're driving through India, and we just pull over on the side of the road, and some strange man comes to the side of the bus that we were in, and he just takes our laundry, and he starts like literally pulling every piece out to like number it, right? Like there's my panties, my wife's panties, my kids, whatever. Like, okay. And then the next day he comes back and it's clean, right? So for me, it wasn't that big a deal. But I will say, like when we were doing our initial review and our initial discovery process, one of the things that every entrepreneur should do is like ask every single person that they know about their idea. Nobody's going to steal your idea, right? Because first of all, because they don't have the passion to deliver on it, right? And even if they do have the passion, they probably don't know how to do it. And so you talk to every single person that you have. So we talked to a lot of people, and they're like, I would never do that. And you're like, all right, that's fair enough, right? But are there enough people who would never do it that would do it? And like, is that enough to sway us?
Yeah.
And most of the people who said they would never do that, so it's like 4 years ago, they were also the people who were like, I would never get in an Uber. And I'm like, if you're still not getting in an Uber, then you're not our customer.
You're not for me.
So there are people, okay, fine. If there are certain things where you draw a line, but as the world becomes more and more comfortable with outsourcing the tasks that take up their time from doing other things, laundry is just the next step in it. But it is kind of like the last step, right? Is like the most personal thing you're probably going to outsource. But, if you're okay with somebody picking up your food and driving it 30 minutes in their car and you don't have any problem eating it.
Give them your tidy whities.
Yeah, then you probably are okay with somebody washing your panties.
That's great. We have to talk about underwear at some point, man.
No,
I'm sorry. I got to talk about it.
Got to.
That's great. So more on the business side of things, right? So I imagine you have two marketing challenges. Consumers, so the users of the app, but then also your laundry doers, your clothesliners, right? Yeah. How do you try to attract both?
Mm-hmm. So that is a great question. So the customer side, when we started this journey, we thought that the customer side was going to be the more difficult side to attract. And it's definitely the more expensive side to attract. But you get to a point as you start rolling out a business, you get to a point within markets where you get what's called a flywheel effect. And that's where you've reached a tipping point where you don't have to attract customers so much anymore because people know who you are, and then they start just like actively seeking you out, or people are talking about you, or they hear from a friend or a family member that they use this service, and then they start trying out. And so getting to that flywheel effect in markets is super important, and the faster you can get there is super important. One of the lessons I just learned over the last 7-8 months is picking up supply and holding onto it is really a lot harder in the gig economy than we thought it was going to be. Because when we first started, we would just put an ad in the newspaper, and within like a couple of days, we would have as many clothesliners as we could like use. But if we don't have enough customers,
sure,
then the clothesliners fall off because there's no orders, right? And so then there's this huge balancing act between like having enough customers and having enough clothesliners. But what you don't want to ever find yourself in is a situation where you don't have enough supply for your demand. And about 3, 4, 5 months ago, it dawned on me like that we didn't have enough supply. And so we've been actually demand heavy for like the last 6, 7 months, and like trying to regain supply on the backside so that we get into a better situation where we're not losing orders because we can't fill the orders.
Right.
But to your point, yeah, a two-sided marketplace, that's work, man. Like you have to be constantly looking at those things, and you have to make sure that you have KPIs, right, key performance indicators, that are giving you like leading indications about whether or not you're going to be able to meet both sides of the marketplace, right? A lot of people will, there's 2 different kinds of KPIs. You probably know there's like leading KPIs and lagging KPIs. Laggings tell you how your company was doing, and leading KPIs tell you about what's about to happen. And so lagging KPIs are great. How much revenue did you have last month? How many orders did you have last month? How much was that compared to the month before? That's great. But leading ones are the ones that are like, okay, we're getting close to our supply limitation in Westchester or in Buffalo, and we need to make sure that we bring on new clothesliners now so that a month from now or 3 weeks from now, we're not out, right? And we're not turning. And so making sure you have enough of the 2 different kinds of KPIs so that your business can stay whole on both sides is super important.
You're spinning plates like crazy, man.
Yeah, man, it's a lot. It's a lot. And, you know, we just went through a reorg. Our co-founder left to go do something else. And so then it was just like me, and the team had to realize. So we have me, and we have customer support. We have some VAs. I have a head of marketing. I have my development team. We all had to like kind of hunker down and be like, okay, what's important? Let's do that. What's not important? Let's not do that. You know, and then let's try to figure out how do we move forward and like regain our balance.
Yeah. You're trying to do something across basically the entire country, right?
Yeah, I mean, we're really focused on the Northeast. We exist out west in Nevada for certain reasons, but and in Alaska. But really, what we're going to do over the next 3 years is like really dominate the Northeast. And when I say the Northeast, I kind of mean like Mid-Atlantic up to Maine. So you'll throw in Virginia and Washington, D.C. and those areas and really move up north.
Right, because your business relies on proximity, right? You have to be able to have enough demand and supply in a relatively small radius, right? I think I was looking at when I was on your website, like you have to, is it county by county that you're doing right now on there?
We do it by zip code.
Okay.
Yeah, we do it by zip code. And the reason why we do it by zip code is because, like we want to make sure that we have clothesliners. It does, like the economics of it are such that somebody can't be driving 30 minutes to go pick up a $20 bag of laundry, right? Like that doesn't make any sense. So zip codes allow you to really zoom in on a space and be like, okay, what we want to do is try to achieve a situation where a clothesliner doesn't have to really drive more than 10 minutes unless the order size is big enough that it's incentive enough for them to do that, right? Yeah. So if it's an 8-bag order, so you're talking about $160, and they have to drive 20 minutes, maybe they're willing to do that.
Right.
But generally, our order sizes are $40. A 10-minute drive is a good option for them. So you have to be tight. Like if you're talking counties, right? Orange County is huge. Westchester, right? Take you an hour to drive across Westchester. Sure. So, you really have to be a lot more finite.
So you're really narrow.
Yeah.
How does that work? How does it work marketing wise then? I mean, because like to
Oh,
build
well,
awareness I mean, I know you can obviously target zip codes
Yeah,
in
yeah,
your
that's the
marketing
best
and
part.
whatnot. But I imagine like it's got to be super fragmented, right? Are your messages fragmented like for town, or how does that work? Because
Yeah, no. So yeah, I mean, the SEO, the amount of websites and landing pages that we have
it's got to
would
be
blow your
insane.
mind. Hundreds of landing pages, hundreds of. Our head of marketing spends as much time trying to solve SEO on that level as she does managing, like our Google ad spend or our Meta spend. Because that SEO stuff is super, super important. But the messaging is always the same, though.
Yeah, it's
And
just labor
yeah, it
intensive.
is. But, I mean, and the good thing is with AI nowadays, you can really solve it very quickly, right? So to set up a new landing page for a particular a market or a zip code, you can really kind of get that thing knocked out in a day. You get Canva set up, you get a template set up, you have, there's a formulaic approach to how to
Right.
set that stuff up, and then you just like run it
Duplicate.
over and over and over
Sure.
again, and and again that's where VAs come in. So people who aren't using VAs, they're not doing it right. If you don't have a VA that you have on your staff,
So that's virtual assistant in case you don't know.
Yeah.
So what do you use a VA for?
We use them for everything. So I have two VAs. They work. They do customer support. So that's like their primary thing. But then in their downtime, I have them run. One of them is in charge. We have this huge spreadsheet of statistics. So she updates the spreadsheet of statistics. We have all these processes through Monday, which is how we manage, like how we bring on clothesliners, how we monitor customer activity, stuff like that. And so they feed the information into Monday so that I can look at the back end of it and see how things are going. And so like on a daily basis, they're feeding information into Monday so that then all the automations can kind of go through and I can see what's the health of the company. And so really, some VAs are really great at just like tasks. But I have a VA, Gianna, who is like, she's brilliant. I love her. Like she's management level now. And so she's gotten to the point where, we've asked her, hey, just start feeding in information. And now she's interpreting the information. And she's like, hey, Dan, we need to start hiring in this market or that market based on the data that she had just forever been inputting. And now she's actually reading. So you have to develop your team, and wherever they work, they still can be an asset to you if you kind of challenge them.
Gotcha. What's something that somebody that's in your shoes maybe 4 years ago what's something that they can avoid that you kind of learned the hard way?
So I have one rule. I have lots and lots of rules, but I have one prime rule. And, I don't know who your audience is, but my prime rule is never hire anybody that helps startups. Like, don't hire a marketing firm that says we work with startups. Don't hire a chief financial officer that says we work with startups. Don't hire anybody who does that, because there are so many assets out there that will help you for free. And then you will get to a situation where you've learned so much from them that you want to bring them on, right? So my head of marketing right now, she has 20 years in the startup marketing field. She was introduced to us from a mentor, and she started working for us for almost nothing for like 6 months. Now she has equity in the company. Like now she actually is paid. She's on our pitch deck. Like that's how you develop in the startup industry. The way we lost probably $100,000 hiring companies that said they work with startups. They'll help you get customers. They'll help you get leads, mostly marketing agencies, stuff like that, CFOs that are like, oh, I can help you with your books or to forecast your finances. if you don't know how to forecast your own finances, your company's not going to do very well. That guy's not going to help you do that, and he's just going to charge you money to do something that you probably needed to learn how to do on your own. So until you can do it, and then you know exactly what you want that person to provide for you, then you should not hire them because it is expensive. There's so many organizations out there that make their money off of the fact that they know that you, as a new startup, a new business, a new entrepreneur, that they know that you're unorganized. They know that you're not going to know that they're not doing their job, and they'll be able to collect money for you for months and months and months before you realize, crap, these guys didn't know what they were doing, and I just wasted $100,000 hiring them. So yeah, know exactly what you want somebody to do, and then hire that person that you trust. But then exactly the minute they're not doing what you want them to, you have to fire them. Like one of the things we talked about at Techstars, we were a Techstars company, which is, maybe we'll talk about it or not, but one of the things that you talk about a lot at Techstars is hire fast and fire fast. Like you have to get people on board. You have to be very, very clear. Like it's your responsibility as the business owner, as a manager, to be super clear, right? So if you're not clear, they're not going to deliver what you want. So like it's your responsibility. Be super clear with what you want them to do. Give them the tools that they need in order to be successful. And if you do that and they don't do what you need, you have to fire them. Like it's not. It sounds heartless, but it's not. Like they need to go do something else that they're going to be good at and that they're going to thrive in. And you need somebody who's going to deliver what you need delivered because your money is so valuable. Like there are very few businesses in this world that go from zero to profitable without losing any money. You're going to lose money.
Right.
And you have to control how much money you're going to lose.
Is that something you got to be prepared for? You got to be prepared to be losing money?
Everybody, yeah. And I don't think a lot of people get that. Clothesline still loses money every single order not every order now, but like every first order, we lose money. So every new customer, you lose money on that customer. And we lose money on that customer for the first 3 times that they order. And then after that, we start making money. So that's why it's super important that like the clothesliner does a good job so that this guy comes back for a second order and a third order and a fourth order, right? So that way we have to be super supportive of our clothesliners so that they're doing a good job and they feel comfortable and empowered to do a good job. It means that the customer comes back and then you can get to this point where you're reliable. But yeah, most people need to be, comfortable with the fact that it's not going to work right away.
Yeah. What do you say to somebody that is at the point where they're like, I got this great idea for an app. It's going to be the next this.
Yeah.
What do you tell somebody like that if they come to you like that?
I just had a conversation with a guy the other day. It's great. He reached out to me. He's a local guy. He's from Monroe. He's got a business that he was really excited about. And he wanted to talk to me about. Actually, it's happened to me twice in the last month. 2 guys, local guys. The first thing I said to him is you have to be like super, super clear about what you're trying to build. Like you have to make sure you spend time looking at all of the things that go into building that company, whatever it is. One of them is software heavy. And so I was like, hey, you need to look into how you're going to solve that. And the other one is not. It was a 2-sided marketplace like ours, which could have been done software light, but there's issues then with a 2-sided marketplace. So I'm like, you really need to study like, who is your customer? How much are they willing to pay for this? How much money are you going to lose before it becomes profitable? But I always tell them the same thing I tell myself, which is like, it's doable, man. Like I did it. Somebody else can do it. It's doable. It's just whether or not you're willing to be prepared enough to do it.
Right. It's time, it's money, it's stress, it's losing money.
Yeah.
There's a lot that it's not just this amazing idea that all of a sudden tomorrow becomes Uber.
Yeah. No, I mean, Uber didn't even make money until last year.
That's wild.
Yeah, that's wild, right?
Yeah, that's crazy.
The amount of money that they raised and that they made through IPO, and they still just made money last year.
It's wild, man. That's wild. Yeah. But your clothesliners are making money. You guys, you guys have paid out almost $1 million in.
Well, we're getting close to $1 million now. We're getting close to $1 million. Yeah, and 75% of that goes to our clothesliners, and that's super important. It's super important that. I mean, they're the one dealing with the panties, right? We're not. We have our own set of problems that we have to manage, right? Bringing customers, understanding churn, and making sure that we have quality control. But at the end of the day, they're like receiving the bag of goods, taking it back to their own home, and then providing a service. And so, almost everything we do at Clotheslyne is about trying to provide a service for them, right? A situation, an atmosphere that they feel like, okay, this is a good fit for me. I'm going to do this long term. I'm going to try to do it the best that I can, and then try to keep them on board. Because the longer they stay on board, the better their service gets, right? There's a learning curve to everything.
Sure.
So they'll get better and better and better, more efficient, and then the money becomes better for them because they're more efficient, right? So it's pretty interesting. But yeah, we have like a bunch of community chat rooms on Facebook where the clothesliners can come and they can talk about kind of whatever they want.
Oh, that's cool.
I'm in both of them. I try to respond several times a week.
But that's a good sounding board for you.
Yeah,
right?
It's great.
Absolutely.
I can hear exactly what they're talking about. And literally just in the last 4 months, we've made some really impressive software updates to their app. They have a whole different app. We hadn't done a whole lot with it over the years. And there was like 3 or 4 little things that they really wanted changed and they couldn't get changed. And I was like, well, why not? So we just changed them, and now they're like, oh, this is great, right? So you really have to listen to them and what they're talking about.
Hell yeah, they're your product, man.
Yeah, and so, but it can get pretty overwhelming.
Definitely.
It's a lot of people.
Yeah, that's one of the challenges, I'm sure, is when people are your product.
Yeah.
Right? It's very hard to control. It's like QA is really got to be challenging when it's somebody bringing in the clothing into their own home using their washing machine. Do they use their own detergent? Like, how does that work?
Yeah. So they have to supply the detergent and the washing machine, and the dryer, and they have to fold in. They're driving it in their own cars. So yeah, they're where the rubber meets the road.
Yeah, I have a friend of mine who I won't get into what industry he's in, but people provide a service to lots of people, and when there's something wrong with the individual, he's got big problems.
Yeah.
That's how do you manage that? Like, do you have somebody managing the team of clothesliners? Like, what kind of contact do you have with your clothesliners? How does that all work?
So I mean, we have the customer support gals who are running that.
They run both sides of things. Okay.
And actually, 70% of their job is dealing with the clothesliners.
Interesting.
Right? Because from the customer's perspective, the process is super simple, right? You take your clothes, you put it in a garbage bag, you leave it on your front door. Somebody comes and picks it up magically, and then a day later or 2 days later, magically it's back and it's folded. And for 98% of the orders, there is no issue from the customer side, right? The money gets automatically paid and everybody gets their stuff done. So the vast majority of the issues that customer support deals with is a clothesliner having a question about an order or needing some support or something like that. And so they run interference on all of that. And they've been doing it for a long time. So I talk about VAs. Our VAs have been with us for 3 years now, probably 2 to 3 years. And so they've kind of seen everything. They can answer any questions that come on. And if they don't, then they escalate it up, the chain to kind of where we need to make a decision on how we're going to move forward on something. But generally, they deal with really everything. But, I mean, it really is a 10% of the issues.
That's great.
Have an issue, right? 90% of it just happens.
Yeah.
And then that 10%, it's nothing new, right? Like we've been doing this now for several years. There's not any new way to mess up laundry that we haven't already seen.
Yeah, that's true. I like it. Do you like doing what you do?
Yeah, I mean, being an entrepreneur has got huge highs and epic lows. And so you have to be prepared for that, right? You have to be prepared for like these massive highs and these epic lows. But I always try to like make sure that I stay in the moment. So sometimes when we're like firing on all cylinders and everything is going well, and you know, I'm having one good meeting after another, and like operations is going well, and like I try to remind myself like this is the high. Do something that you've been putting off that, you know, you were worried about how it was like the result, because if you're in a high, generally the result will come out well. And then when you're in a low and everything's going wrong, right? And you're talking to investors, or you're having hard discussions with, you know, people about whatever's going on, or maybe there's some issues with clothesliners here or there. You have to be like, okay, this is a low right now. Like this is a point where things are not going my way. This is not how it's going to be forever. Like it's going to be low for a couple weeks or maybe a month or whatever, and then you're going to be on a high. And then I also say to myself, well, listen, now's not the time to try that thing that you're hoping goes well, because we're at like this negative vibe level, right? So try the new thing when you know you're at the high vibe level, and don't do the new thing when you're in the negative vibe level. But you really have to remind yourself that this is not how it ends, right? It's not going to always be high, and it's not going to always be low. Most of the time, it's going to be right down the middle, and remind yourself of that in both situations. A lot of people will get in this high area, and then they live in this high area, and they think, okay, life is just going to be in this high area forever, and then they're not making plans for when they know the inevitable bad spots is going to happen. So you just have to make sure that you keep that in perspective.
I love it.
But I love it, man. I mean, what else are you going to do?
You know, there's lots you could do, but this is the path that you started when you were 12. So there you go.
Exactly.
That's it.
For me, there's really not anything else I can do. My mind doesn't work like that. If I'm not solving a problem, I get pretty bored.
That's great. No, listen, problem solvers make the world go around. I mean, that's the reality. I have a funny Paperboy story for you.
Let's hear it.
So I was always like entrepreneurial as well. I feel like I always had it in me, and you know, it's been in my family. I'm, you know, first generation Italian, like off the boat kind of thing, and it's just like that's just what we did. Like you came here, you start a business. That's just what you do, right? So I always had like a real appreciation for that. Ever since I was little, I knew I was going to be doing my own thing. So I was in high school, and there was this kid in my class. I think it was like in an economic class or something. And his name was Marcus Brown. I'll never forget it. Shout out Marcus Brown if you ever come across this. This is right around the time where cell phones started to become like commonplace in like high school.
Oh, you're young then.
I'm young. I don't feel it, but I am. So cell phone goes off in class, right? And of course, like this is a new, like relatively new. We're like somebody's phone rang. It's Marcus Brown's cell phone, and teacher's in the middle of a lecture. This kid picks up the phone and he goes, "Yeah, this is Marcus Brown. Yeah, I'm your Paperboy." And the teacher's like, "Marcus," he's like, hold on. He's like, "Yeah, no, what happened with your paper?" The dude took a customer service call in the middle of economics class, and the teacher didn't know what to do. Yeah. And I'm like, right on, Marcus. I'm like, that is how it's done. And like, I'll never forget like that kind of like hustle from a high school kid shutting down his teeth. Like he got sent out of the room for it. I'm like, that kid's amazing. Yeah, I love it.
That was a good call. I mean, that was a good take of the call. Like he's going to be able to get back into that room someday, but he's not going to lose that customer. You know?
Absolutely. Yeah. Like I just thought like that is what it's about right there. Yeah. Like be Marcus Brown. Yeah. You know, be Marcus.
Yeah. That's an incredible story. And it is the life though of an entrepreneur, man. Like you are working all the time, and you need to have people in your life that appreciate that. Like I have an amazing wife and amazing parents who see me for who I am, and then they support that. They're like, okay, like listen, if Dad says he's got to take a call, then, my wife will usher the kids out of the room, right? And be like, hey, let dad take this call. Right now, I needed to come here and do this. This was important to me. And so I called my mom because it's spring break. And I'm like, hey, Mom, I need to drop the kids off. And she's like, yeah, go ahead, come drop the kids off so that I can do something that is important for me, for my business, for everything that we're doing. And so you have to have a support team. Even if my company is very tiny, my support team is humongous, right? I have like amazing people that I meet and are supportive of me here in the county and in my my time growing the business, and really making sure that you are thankful for those people and appreciate that they're there. That's what helps you get through it.
Hell yeah, yeah. I know so many people where their spouse is just working against them, right?
Yeah,
like it's just
you can't do it.
You can't, especially in this kind of life. Where, like you said, there's highs and there's lows. Yeah. There's phone calls where you're going to lose $15,000 in one phone call. Yeah. And you got to have somebody there that's cool with that. Yeah. Right. And that's that. My wife's like that, and it's that. I think that makes everything. Makes everything easier. It's just
you have to have somebody who understands the game, right? And
she's not as risky as me.
Yeah, no, they are. My wife is, she's an ultrasound tech. She's been doing it. She's like there 15 minutes early. She works until 15 minutes after her time every single day, every day. Like we go on vacation, I have to tell her like 6 months in advance because she doesn't want to take time off, right? So no, that's who she is. But that's a perfect partner, right? Because you have one partner who's crazy. You can't have two crazy partners.
No.
Right?
They kind of bring it back down to earth a little bit.
Brad and Angelina Jolie, two crazy people. It's not going to work out.
Yeah.
No, you need to have one person who's stable and one person who's crazy.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Like she balances me out. That's what I say. Like I'm still gonna be crazy. I'm not gonna not be crazy, but I'm maybe I'll dial it back every now and then when I'm in my own head. But it's so important to have that, man. Yeah. It's a fun ride.
Yeah, no, it's the best. It's the best. And if you can come out on top at the end of it, that's great. But the ride is also part of the thing. So whatever happens with the business, whatever happens with whatever you're building, it's the ride that's the best part. Eventually someday something will happen to Clotheslyne. We'll become the Uber of laundry, or we'll be absorbed by some other company, or we'll peter out into nothing. Something's going to happen, right? Like when I came out of Shell, I worked at Toys R Us as a manager, at the corporate level. I worked there for a month because I started working the month before they went bankrupt, right? And so I remember starting, and there was already rumors about bankruptcy, blah, blah, blah. And then all the people that worked at corporate headquarters were like, oh, we're not going to go bankrupt. You can't have a world without Toys R Us. And I'm like, why not? Why can't you? And now, my kids will never know Toys R Us, So every company at some point is going to move on to something else. But the journey, you get to keep that, right? You get to keep what you did, right? You get to keep the memories of coming to my house and, filming, and whatever that was. And every other place you get to go, you get to remember that memory of that. We were in textiles, like I said, so we got to live in the city for 3 months, and I would walk to work every day, right? So we were there in the winter class, but I didn't care. We were living down in Chinatown in this apartment above a dance club. It was crazy, right? I'm 48 years old, and every night there would be the sound of the dance club, and then I would wake up every morning at 5:30, and I would walk, from Chinatown to Midtown, and I would just live it. I would own that time, just walking through the city and saying to myself, this is spectacular. Yeah. This day, this moment, right now is spectacular.
That's great, man. Yeah. That's awesome. All right. So if somebody wants to either become a clothesliner or have their laundry done for them, how do they?
Yeah, I mean,
App Store and
App Store. You're both on the iOS and the Android and the Google Play Store. Clotheslyne, Lyne, of course, because we're a startup, so we have to spell it weird. But
at least you have vowels in it.
Yeah, exactly.
Because a lot of them don't have vowels.
Yeah, no. So Clotheslyne, Lyne at the end, or you can go to the website, right? Clotheslyne.com. And then that'll take you to the web, to the store if you want to download it. You can also, there's a web portal, so if you want to place orders on the web, you can do that.
And if you want to make some money on your washing machine that's not being used every week.
That's right. And we need lots of them, right? We always need clothesliners who, are looking to figure out. And the greatest thing about the clothesliner experience is they get to do it at home. We're not turning anything around in a minute, right? We're not asking somebody to drive to McDonald's right now, pick up a Happy Meal and bring it back to a house, right? You're going to pick up laundry at a designated time. You're going to have at least 24 to 48 hours to do it at your own house while you're watching The Price is Right or whatever it is that you're doing. And then you get to drop it off, usually when you're on your way to drop off your kids or pick them up from soccer or something like that. And so it's a really, people forward way of like trying to provide a service for your neighbors in your community.
That's great, man. Thanks so much for coming on. This was great. Good luck to you.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to seeing the WeFunder.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a second. So Clotheslyne is on WeFunder. So this is an opportunity, right? Like where real people can invest in a startup that has scalable possibilities, right? So you're never going to be able, if you're a regular old person, you would never have been able to invest in an Uber or, a DoorDash or something like that. Like that stuff was always just for the rich people, the richest people in the country. Clotheslyne, because we are a people thing, and it's like your laundry and it's your dirty chores. Like we're a people thing. And so we're opening up Clotheslyne for people, any old person to go to WeFunder, look for Clothesliner, which should be searchable today, and invest in the company and be able to, own a piece of that. And so when Clotheslyne does become something big, you'll have an opportunity to like create a little bit of wealth that generally is only associated with like the super rich in the country.
I love it. Love it. Yeah. So it's WeFunder.
Yeah, WeFunder.
All right. Fantastic. So yeah, go to WeFunder, go to Clotheslyne, start cleaning people's drawers and make some money doing it.
That's right.
And have somebody clean your drawers so you can spend that time
That's right, with
doing
your
the stuff that
family.
you actually want to do.
That's right.
So we're not living in a world surrounded by laundry.
Yeah. Haunted by laundry.
I love it, man. Hey, thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you.
This has been great, man.
Take care.
Appreciate it.